name is Marc with Don't Fret. We've been covering a lot on guitar and ukulele lately. Much of it focusing on where to put your fingers and how to get certain sounds. We're going to take a step back from that today and just focus on getting comfortable with your instrument. If you've been having a hard time settling in, today's your day. So I hope you got something comfy on, because today is all about comfort. That said, if you want to grab your instrument, follow along, take a moment to do so. Otherwise, stay tuned and off we go. All right, so I've got three things that I do to get in to a comfortable place with my instrument. Starting off first of the three things is I warm up. And so that usually looks like something that I learned called finger yoga when I was in the fire department. A coworker of mine knew a professional rock climber who did this. He called it finger yoga. So there's two things in it. You go with both hands, you can do it at the same time or one at a time, doesn't really matter. You do want to even side to side if you can though. But you go up, in, forward, in, up, in, forward, in, up, in. So you do that for every finger as you can. And then at the end, kind of throw it away. And when you throw it, you're kind of stretching all the joints out and just kind of throwing it out. And shake that out when you're done. And after that, I'll warm up the wrists and the forearms. So you've got the fingers in the hands, wrists and the forearms by doing wrist circles. And it's easy just to see. Sometimes a little challenging to describe, but it kind of almost feels like you're pulling on a rope. But when you're pulling on it, go with slow intention to where you're bringing the hand, the wrist, into an isolated movement where you're almost like just rolling it through your maximum range of motion comfortably. You'll feel it for sure. So you don't want any pain, but you kind of pulling a rope in almost. You're like, pull. Maybe on the edges of a ladder, if that helps. You bring your wrist down, stretch. You're reversing the process and reversing the circles. So when that's ready, kind of shake it out. Maybe bring your palms into center and stretch your wrists out a bit. Play with the wrist motions that you've got. You can open the wrists like this and get to the fingers. Do anything that's comfortable and shake it out. However's comfortable to shake and we're loose. That's my warm-up routine. If you do it, you'll notice that you've got blood flowing from fingertip down to elbow. Normally it takes a while when you're touching your instrument to do that, so that's really nice if you've got the seconds to do it beforehand. Then the next thing I do is I pick up my instrument and I check in with how I'm doing. It's easy to start with the instrument. It's here and you're like, how are you doing today, ukulele? How are you doing today, guitar? Or whatever it is that you play. Let's start with yourself. You put it in and you think, how am I doing? Does this make me anxious? Am I anticipatory? Just how am I doing? And then from there, I just acknowledge, and there I am, and I check in with how I'm feeling physically. Is there tension in the shoulders? I kind of just start the neck, pretend there's an x-ray running through. Go through my shoulders, bicep, my elbow doing, forearm, wrist, into the fingertips. You can check them both sides. How you doing? You maybe need to take a moment, shake it out again, and whatever it takes to relax and settle. Then I check in with the instrument. Step one, warm it up. Step two, how you doing? You, the player, you, the person, you, the human. Step three, how you doing, instrument? And this transition should go from a place of comfort. So, if you're not sure what that's like, position of comfort would be just how you're sitting. So I'm just going to sit normally, and my ukulele's here. I'm not going to drop it, And you'll notice it and the guitar kind of ends off just off kilter a little bit. And, off maybe 45 degrees off center normally is kind of where you sit, somewhere in there. It's not like this. No, it starts here if you're cozy. And that's where this shoulder's most happy. Then you got to accommodate the wrist, and you bring the wrist of the left hand into the game, and so you got to kind of bring it back. Now with the ukulele, when you're bringing it back, you kind of create a little hammock between the finger bone here of your hand and the joint of the thumb here, the deep one though, not this one up here, but in deep. So you'll kind of like sit in between this bit, and you'll drop it in. Now, just a comfortable rest. And then between those two joints, you get a nice bit of play where you can kind of get some leverage. You can get leverage off of the back of that. You can kind of get some leverage off of the top of that and everything between. But the point is you're just resting it like a hammock, just floating in the breeze, nothing crazy. And as you're bringing in the strength of your hands, you're not wasting any energy on any extra stuff there. You're resting in the hammock. Now, similar for that hammock principle, it goes for your shoulders. So you remember how I mentioned this thing kind of shoots off center a little bit when you're comfortable. When you bring it in, rested in the hammock and you're chill, you're just like, okay, we're there. This wrist, it's kind of hard to have it way out here, so you'll want to bring it in a little bit. If you're a classical guitar player, I'll show you kind of bring it up really high maybe even. That's really cozy in some ways, but the more you bring it around, the more this wrist has to, shoulder, this particular shoulder, and everything has to rotate to accommodate. And so you kind of end up in this space where you're like in between where this side wants to be and this side wants to be. So you kind of find that spot. You find that spot. Okay, and then you pay attention to your forearm. You know, you're gonna pancake an ukulele just under the nipple line into the rib cage is my favorite spot because I can feel the vibrations into my rib cage. You know, you can feel it. And it's so lovely. So I find a comfortable spot right there, right into the ribs, and resting in the hammock, or the tensional spots between my shoulders where it's good. All that's like, okay, we're loose. When I'm there, I bring my forearm to the ukulele in such a way that my fingers cross right here, right where the fretboard and the top of the body meet, right there. And that kind of creates a nice little ramp for when you're strumming. It's kind of helpful. So that's kind of how I gauge the distance. And so when I'm here, I'm cozy. I'm ready to start playing. Now, a little different for the guitar. Guitar, similar things apply. You start with the comfort, you know, and it's similar, just a little bit off. Bring it into the hammock of the hand, similar. And this is to say, like, you don't bring your thumb around or anything. You're loose. You let it happen. You let it happen. But the point is, you're loose, and you kind of just let it relax. You let the wrist relax, much as possible. So you're not developing any tension in there that you don't need. So if you bring the thumb around a bit, that's fine. The wrist around a bit, that's fine. But the point is, you're cozy. But the guitar, when I bring it around, the difference comes in how it attaches the body. It's bigger, right? So a lot of times when you're seated, it'll hang with the leg right in here, and then I kind of pull the top part of this smaller bit of the body right here in where the ukulele was into my rib cage, just under my nipple line or under my pec in there where it's on against the ribs. And as you play, then you can feel that reverberation again into your chest, and it's very soothing, especially with the lower notes. You can really feel that. And so that for me is where I start, and then I find my hammock, and I find my tension, comfort, balance with the left and right shoulders by bringing it. This one's totally cozy here. This one's probably totally cozy here. Could be exaggerated, but you kind of just chill in between those two. There we go. And that's good. And then I got my wrist just comfortably here. And then for the forearm, now the guitar is different than the ukulele in the sense that when you're sitting, you can play with how your forearm can be pancaked on top. You can surf the corner. You can grab it like this. All of those things are okay, you know? And so when you're doing that, you kind of feel like you're manipulating the guitar in any which way, and it's going all over the place. And if you just settle into what that means, you move. And so you end up dancing between these two spots of like tension here, maybe a little bit of how you interact with it here, how you want to have it pushed into your body here. And so you find it becomes more of a dance with something as opposed to picking up a shovel to dig a hole. And see how far we can get with this today. No, give it a spot where you settle in a way that's totally different. I think you'll find that it speaks to you differently in the end. Hey, if this kind of thing speaks to you, go ahead and check out the other videos I've got, like and subscribe. That does make a difference. And thank you for those of you that have been here from the start. My appreciation to you. More of this online at my website, don'tfret.com. We're building an online community there, more videos to be launched, and more content from me there as well. So do stay in touch. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments if you have a practice that you do, or any alterations or ways that you settle in. I'd love to hear about it. If you have a moment with this practice in particular, or if it helps you, I'd love to hear about that as well. I'm Mark, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Maybe I should play something. Is this when the credits would come on?